When you get done and you go to do like a chest pose, you normally are pushing your hands together.
Yeah, your hands are always lower than your clavicle.
Right.
If I say flex your chest as hard as you can, you're not going to do this.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to push both my hands together with my hands up high.
And you actually can't.
It doesn't feel like there's much there. I don't know about Andrew and Nsima, but the way that I use your information is for my own convenience. So you don't really love incline bench press. I actually suck at incline bench press. So I'm like, you got to look at Doug Brignole's research and his information. He says you don't need this exercise.
Super convenient. Yeah.
Let's talk about actually the chest real quick, because the decline chest press, or the decline dumbbell chest press, right, is the movement in the Brig 20 that is ideal for chest, and you don't see people decline chest pressing. You barely ever see that. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
And how we can build some big pecs with the decline chest press.
Well, the first thing that we should talk about is why incline presses aren't good for the chest.
Okay.
And when I say aren't good for the chest, again, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work the chest at all. It just works it minimally. And the reason is because all muscles pull toward their origin, right? So this is undeniable. If I give you one end of the rope and I tie the other end to something, let's just say you're the middle chest. You're holding on to that muscle fiber. And there's a heavy box over there. And I'm standing on the guy's chin, right? Let's say you're standing on the upper end, the top part of his sternum, right? And on the other end is the arm. You're going to pull that arm toward you.
Right.
I can't pull from the chin. There's no pectoral muscle on the chin. All right. Well, when you're doing an incline, you're moving toward the chin. You're not moving toward the highest part on the sternum. If you were, you'd be doing a flat press.
And right now, Doug's doing a movement kind of coming across his body and going like kind of even with his eyes. And if you do that movement, you'll notice it's kind of hard to actually flex your pecs that way.
Impossible.
If you think about like when you get up off of doing some maybe flat dumbbell presses or whatever exercise, your flies or whatever, when you get done and you go to do like a chest pose, you normally are pushing your hands together.
Your hands are always lower than your clavicle.
Right.
If I say flex your chest as hard as you can, you're not going to do this.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to push both my hands together with my hands up high.
And you actually can't.
It doesn't feel like there's much there. Yeah.
And let me also say that this is not a deniable thing. This is an absolute fact. We evolved from quadrupeds, even though some religious people out there might argue with that. We evolved from quadrupeds. And we became primates, which meant we started moving arms progressively downward. But we never, ever evolved to push our arms progressively upward in an incline angle or even an overhead. One of my endorsers of my book is a paleoanthropologist, and he corroborated that. And he goes, yeah, there was never, basically they're forensic scientists. They look at the skeleton, they look at the musculature, and they say, what did this joint evolve to do? And then they connect the dots and they go, well, they had to forage and they had to do this. And so never did we ever have to do an incline angle. So the idea that we would be moving our arms in an upward direction would only make sense if our arms were connected to our torso halfway between the highest and the lowest part of the pecs. But they're not. They're connected to the top part of the pecs.
Guys, you need to get your blood work done. But I know that when I've gotten my blood work done in the past, I saw all the things on the sheet and I had no idea how to interpret it. That's why we've partnered with Merrick Health. Not only do they have a panel that has everything you need for men and women, it also comes with an expert analysis from a doctor where they'll tell you where you're deficient and how you need to fix it. Andrew, can you tell the people how to get it?
At merrickhealth.com/power project. You guys will see the Power Project panel. And again, this includes a written report as well as a one-on-one consultation with a real doctor. That's at merrickhealth.com/power project. At checkout, make sure you guys use promo code Power Project for $101 off. Head over there right now. So I've heard a lot of people talk about building the upper chest shelf or whatever it is. Can you even build a different part of your, I don't even understand what that means.
Well, okay, obviously, if you talk to an anatomist or a paleoanthropologist or an orthopedic doctor, they would say shelf.
Right.
Shelf. We're talking fibers. We're talking sternal fibers, the highest sternal fibers on the sternum. And then we're talking about the inner part of the clavicle right here.
That feels good, Doug.
has the clavicular.
Hey.
Easy boy, easy.
Strong hands over here.
has the clavicular pectorals, right? So again, all muscles pull toward their origin. So if you move your arm toward the upper inner part of the clavicle, you're going to get more pectoral, more of that. But when you do this, that clavicle shifts over. So you're still moving toward the clavicular pectoral when you're doing a flat dumbbell press. In my book, I have a picture of a super lean woman, and you can actually see her clavicle shift over. You can see her humerus move toward the clavicle, toward the clavicular fibers, more so than even the highest sternal fibers. So when you're doing, look, I don't even do a flat press because even a flat is too few fibers. Once you get into a slight decline or a more extreme decline, you're moving toward a greater number of pectoral fibers. So you're naturally activating more parts of the pec. So we had one guy send us a picture of massive upper pec. He said, I never had this when I was doing inclines. I got that doing declines.
Yeah. What about cable flies then?
Well, cable flies, when you're talking about cables, you're talking about a different direction of resistance than gravity, which is just straight down. So if you're doing a cable fly, obviously there's a lot of variables here. What angle are you at relative to the cables, right? So one thing I think is so funny when we're talking about cables is, again, cables, you choose a direction of resistance, right? When you're doing free weight, you have to angle your body relative to it, right? So if you see someone doing a bent over tricep kickback with cables, they're just doing a push down, right? They change their body position, but they also change the direction of resistance. So when you see someone doing, let's say, a decline bench, cable fly, I say, why would you put a decline bench there? Why don't you just sit upright, put the cables a little higher and go in a decline direction? You don't have to, the bench doesn't matter. Once you've got pulleys, you can do whatever you want to do with your torso.
Could we just put a couple of mats maybe underneath like a part of the bench press to make it like a decline, or does it need to be declined pretty aggressively?
You can tilt. You can take a flat
Just
bench
a
and put a
couple
box
inches.
underneath. Yeah. Now, getting back to your question, why is it not so commonly used? In part, it's because people don't understand the value of it, but also in part because it's kind of hard to get in and out of that thing.
Yeah.
Right. So if you tip a bench up and you have no place for your ankles, you might fall back. You might have, right. So what we do is we have a couple of steps that we put on either side. We put the weight on there. That way you don't have to come back with the weight or sit up with the weight, right? You get into your decline bench, you hook your ankles, you lie back, you pick up one, you pick up the other, you do your set, you put that one down, this one down, you're done. Easy. But unless you have that setup, you're going to feel it's cumbersome, and you're going to say, oh, the hell, I'm going to do an incline because it's easier to get out of.
Yes.
Sometimes people don't feel that this is important, but I think it's important to point out Doug is jacked. He's in good shape, and I always think that is relevant. You know, a lot of times we'll hear from some people that
Look at that.
aren't very well built, who are preaching stuff,
I'm
but they're not following the protocols, and it obviously is working for you and a lot of the people that you've helped.
Yeah. Well, again, I wish I would have discovered this stuff a long time ago. I mean, I train exclusively with this now, and I get great workouts, as good as a 61-year-old can.
Any injuries?
I have an old, funny left shoulder from overhead pressing years ago. I had a knee surgery. I popped an Achilles or a patella tendon running in the rain. I slipped and fell in the rain, so it wasn't through training. It's 95% good. I can't quite train as well with my left leg as I can with my right leg, but and my calves, somewhere along the way, this is kind of a bizarre thing. My inner head of both calves somehow tore. But you think of a tear as being like a sudden thing. This wasn't the case. Somewhere along the way, maybe one fiber here, one fiber there, little by little. So now if you look at my calves, you see that.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, the same thing happened to my tricep.
It's just a weird thing.
It just tore. I don't even remember it.
It didn't happen in a way that you noticed it.
Right.